What if I told you that one of the biggest opportunities in retirement isn't about saving more money? It's simply about being intentional with how you draw income. A lot of people are surprised by this. Most Canadians think their retirement outcome is predetermined by how much they've saved. But in reality, how you use those savings, especially from a tax perspective, can have just as big an impact. Without understanding, many retirees end up paying more tax than they need to, or losing benefits they could have kept, simply because their withdrawals aren't structured in a coordinated way. So today, I want to walk you through some of the key ideas that can help you make your retirement income more efficient and more predictable. Let's talk about the one move that can transform your retirement income: withdrawal optimization. Hi, I'm Stefano Francesca, Senior Wealth Advisor and Certified Financial Planner Professional at Next Step Wealth Management with IPC Securities Corporation. If you find this kind of information useful, feel free to like and subscribe. It helps others find these educational videos. And if you're within 5 to 10 years of retirement and want to learn how to make your savings work harder without taking on extra risk, click the link in the description to book a consultation. I'm a specialist in creating personalized income plans that maximize what you keep, not just what you earn. All right, let's dive in. 1, why withdrawal planning matters. So let's start with something I see all the time. Most people spend 20, 30, even 40 years focused on building their retirement savings. RSP contributions, employer plans, maybe a TFSA. Every year, it's about growing the nest egg. Just absolutely focused on their investments. But once retirement starts, the game changes completely. You move from accumulation to decumulation, and that requires a totally different mindset, one that most aren't prepared for. What surprises a lot of people is that 2 retirees with the exact same savings can end up with very different after-tax incomes, simply because of the order that they draw their money from their accounts. And it's not because one person's investments are better, it's because taxes, government programs, and minimum withdrawal rules can either work for you or against you. When the withdrawal order isn't coordinated, people often experience higher taxes than necessary, loss of old age security benefits, sharp spikes in income in their 70s, faster depletion of savings. And all of this is preventable with some sound planning and focus on what truly matters. Number 2, the importance of withdrawal order. Let's talk about this because it's one of the biggest misconceptions. Many retirees default to a simple sequential approach, like I'll spend all my non-registered assets first, defer my RRIF and taxes for as long as possible, then use all that, and finally save my TFSA for last. It sounds logical because the TFSA is tax-free at the end, but in many cases, this actually leads to higher taxes over time. Here's why. As your RRIF grows, your future mandatory withdrawals grow too. Those withdrawals are fully taxable. Once you stack CPP, OAS, and investment income, your taxable income can creep up quickly. And that can push you into the OAS clawback range, meaning you lose part of your old age security. A coordinated plan blends your accounts instead of emptying them one at a time. So instead of drawing strictly from your RRIF, for example, you might draw a portion from your TFSA to keep your taxable income in a comfortable range. A lot of people are surprised how much of a difference this makes, not just in taxes, but in how smooth their retirement income feels year to year. Now, each person's plan is going to be different based on age, income needs, other income sources, and size of accounts. Your income plan needs to be personalized to optimize your own situation. Number 3, understanding tax smoothing. Now let's look at tax smoothing because this is another area where Canadians often miss opportunities. The typical approach is this: keep the RSP growing, convert it to a RRIF at 71, start the mandatory minimum withdrawal at 72, and the problem is what happens after that point. If your RSP has grown significantly, your minimum RRIF withdrawal can be quite large, whether you need the money or not. That income is fully taxable, and once you add CPP and OAS, you can easily hit higher tax brackets or even trigger clawbacks. Tax smoothing means being proactive. For many people, drawing from the RSP earlier, during your lower income years, in your 60s, can actually reduce your lifetime tax bill. But you have to run the numbers to actually find out. So rather than waiting until you're forced to take large withdrawals later, you take smaller, intentional withdrawals earlier at a lower tax rate. You're not trying to avoid tax entirely. You're trying to avoid big, unexpected tax spikes in your later years. We just did a video on this last week. Number 4, using your TFSA as a tool, not just a backup. The TFSA is one of the most flexible retirement tools we have in Canada. The beauty of the TFSA is that withdrawals are tax-free, they don't affect old age security, they don't push you into higher tax brackets, and you get the contribution room back the next year. But what many people do is leave the TFSA untouched for too long. as a just-in-case emergency account. In reality, the TFSA can help you fine-tune your taxable income. For example, if you're close to the old age security clawback range, around $93,000 net income in 2025, you could draw from your TFSA instead of pulling from your RRIF. It lets you keep your income steady without giving up benefits or paying unnecessary tax. When used strategically, the TFSA becomes more than a savings account. It becomes a tax management lever. Number 5, the retirement bridge strategy, especially for early retirees. If you're planning to retire before your CPP or OAS starts, this section's for you. The years between retirement and age 65 are usually your lowest income years, and low income years create opportunities. It's when you might withdraw from your RRSP or RRIF at a very low tax rate, use non-registered money to supplement income, or gradually reduce the size of your RRSP before mandatory withdrawals begin. By bridging those early years, you smooth out your income over your entire retirement. Then when CPP and OAS begin, you're not suddenly pushed into higher brackets. You've already right-sized your taxable accounts. This strategy doesn't require more savings, just better timing. 6, avoiding the OAS clawback. Let's talk for a moment about the old age security clawback because many Canadians don't realize how it works. Once your income goes above the threshold, about $93,000 in 2025, you lose 15 cents of every old age security dollar above that line. You're essentially being taxed at an extra 15% on that portion of income. And that's on top of your regular tax rate. So for those in Alberta at $95,000 to $114,000 or so of income, that's 30.5% plus 15% clawback, which equals 45.5%. This is why managing taxable income matters. The goal isn't to keep income artificially low. It's to avoid unnecessary erosion of your benefits. So if your net income is hovering around that clawback threshold, it's imperative to manage your taxable income efficiently. A coordinated strategy using RRIF withdrawals, TFSA withdrawals, and thoughtful CPP timing can help you stay below that threshold if it makes sense for your situation. 7, income splitting for couples. If you're part of a couple, this one is straightforward but very effective. After age 65, up to 50% of eligible RRIF income can be split with your spouse for tax purposes. Why is this helpful? Because most couples don't have equal incomes. If one spouse is in a much higher tax bracket, shifting some of that income to the lower income spouse can lower the household's overall tax bill. It's a simple step, but it can make a meaningful difference in how much income you keep after tax. 8, investment strategy for non-registered assets. Not all investment gains are the same because in a non-registered account, it's not what you make, it's what you keep that matters. And there's a massive difference between earning interest, Canadian dividends, and capital gains. Let's walk through a quick example. We'll assume you're in a 30% marginal tax bracket. Depending upon your exact income, the numbers can shift a bit, but these estimates give you a solid picture. Let's start with the simplest one, interest. Interest is fully taxable, so if you earned $10,000 in interest, you'd pay around $3,000 in tax, leaving you with about $7,000 after tax. Pretty straightforward. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. Eligible dividends from Canadian companies. Dividends go through something called gross up and dividend tax credits. It's a way of preventing double taxation. Even if your combined marginal bracket is around 30%, the tax you actually pay on eligible dividends is usually much lower. On $10,000 of eligible dividends, most Albertans around this income level end up with an effective tax rate of roughly 10%. So you'd likely keep about $9,000 after tax. That's a big difference compared to interest. Capital gains get special treatment too. Only 50% of the capital gain is taxable. So if you earn $10,000 in capital gains, only $5,000 is included in your taxable income. Your tax is roughly $1,500, leaving you with about $8,500 after tax. So capital gains are also much more tax efficient than interest. And lastly, return of capital. If you made an investment and you were able to sell some of your own capital rather than creating a capital gain on the sale, how much tax would you pay? Well, you'd pay zero because that's after-tax money already. So you would get to keep $10,000 after tax. There are structures in place that allow us to create tax-free return of capital, and we use them to create tax-efficient income. So when you put all of this together, investment strategy, withdrawal order, tax smoothing, TFSA strategy, early retirement planning, OAS management, and income splitting, you get a retirement income plan that's smoother, more efficient, and often more sustainable. You don't have to take more investment risk. You don't have to drastically change your lifestyle. It's simply about being intentional and thoughtful with the structure of your withdrawals. If you're approaching retirement or already in it and want to understand what this could look like for your situation, you're welcome to connect using the link below. We'll walk through how to invest your assets effectively, coordinate your income, manage taxes over time, and design a sustainable strategy that supports your lifestyle in a practical, tax efficient way. Let's take the next step.